Good afternoon. I welcome you to this space, made sacred with grief and with love. We gather today to celebrate the life and mourn the death of Elizabeth Nancy Walsh, mother, wife, artist, singer, bird lover, an inspiration to us all. I am Reverend Ann Mason. I'm minister of this Unitarian Universalist Church, where Beth and Bill raised Emma, Caroline, and Porter, and where Beth was our beloved soprano soloist for many, many years. I am so honored to be with you all on this day as we come to celebrate the life, the work, the connections, and the love that you hold for Beth. We are here to honor her, to recognize the journey that she has taken, the journey from this life to that which is beyond life. She has moved into the mystery, to that place beyond our senses where both the arts and all world religions try to understand. It is the rhythm of creation that has brought us here, the rhythm of birth and life and death, in which each one of us is caught up and which binds to us all together, all of us, in the common experience of being alive, knowing we have to die and having to make some response to that reality. That rhythm has brought us here at this hour to mark the loss of Elizabeth Walsh, who has walked this way with us and blessed us with her beloved presence. Today, though our sorrow may be deep and the loss felt beyond words, we come together to celebrate her life, to bid farewell to the person we have known in this earthly life, and to offer our gratitude and our thanksgiving for having known her. It is good to be together now. We need one another. Now, as we look at one another's faces, we see there the most ancient of languages, the language of grief. It is good to let our sorrow show because our hearts are torn. We can feel the heartache of others as we feel our own, and it is good to remember, with smiles and laughter as well as tears, the person Beth was, how she filled our world with beauty and brightened our days. Healing the hurt begins with remembering. Our memories of Beth can never be taken away, nor shall we ever forget. Will you join with me in prayer? O Spirit of hope and healing, we gather in your presence at this time of loss. Holy One, we call you by many names, each one of them unique to our understanding of who and what you are. We are here together on this day, trusting in your presence and in your great love. Be with us now at this time, that we might be empowered by your strengthening presence. May the living energy of compassion open us to the healing that comes when we give ourselves permission to grieve. Amen. In a moment, you will hear a recording of Beth leading our parish choir in Down to the River to Pray, a traditional song arranged by our music director, Rip Jackson. Even in our grief, let us open ourselves to the beauty of her voice, to the gentleness of her smile, and to the joy of the life which she lived so fully.
As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sister, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sister, let's go down to the river to pray. As I
good luck objects. Some nice energy. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Walsh's daughter, Emma Scott. Thank you all for being here. I have a reading from her father, Rabbi Ray Walsh. A man's prayer. I am wondrously wrought, partly shaped by my biology, partly shaped by my culture, and partly self-shaped. I am so wonderfully fashioned that the workings of myself amaze and confuse me. I know I have the power to choose among many paths, yet most of the time I am on automatic pilot, acting out of little examined assumption, values, rituals, myths, appetites, and impulses. I can meet life in many ways. I can be tough-minded. I can be tender-hearted. I can move between activity and quietness. I can express my uniqueness and individuality, and I can forget myself in commitment to family and community. I can judge. I can bear witness to the good and the evil around me, and I can forgive. I can analyze, theologize, figure the world out, and I can listen to the still small voice of conscience, intuition, and the Holy Spirit. All these ways of meeting life and more are part of the potential that is me. But I'm afraid to move very far or very fast from the ways that have become comfortable. I seek the self-knowledge that may illuminate new possibilities in life, and I seek the courage to try them. Most of all, I pray for wholeness, for a life in which my many ways of living can be connected and filled with the meaning of holy creation. So this was from Noisy Stones, the book that he published, and I kind of wrote a little response to that. I think my mother may have taken this prayer and ran with it. I remember asking her what God meant to her. She said she believed that God is everything, and by that definition, she was the meaning of holy creation. She found out she could study music, and so she did. She wanted a fulfilling and successful career, and so she had one. She wanted a family, and so she had one. She wanted to travel, and so she did. My mother sought out new possibilities and shared them with the people around her. I believe she created her own wholeness and provided myself and many others with the tools to build their own. Gratitude. I love you, Mom.
Now I'd like to invite our choir to come forward and perform their anthem, The Road Home, by Stephen Paulus.
I'm currently crying, so bear with me. I'm Caroline, Beth's daughter. I never expected to lose my mom at 22, but I am glad that I had the time that I did. She had this presence that you couldn't ignore even if you wanted to, which, as an angsty teenager who hated attention, was not always the goal I was looking for. Growing up, I was not an easy kid to parent, but Mom tried her best. In high school, our relationship really blossomed, and we created so many memories together through our shared passion of theater, travel, and food. Being my mom's daughter meant a lot of things. Getting startled by her exclamations of wonder at the world around her, constant hugs, great food, endless stories, and more. One thing that always stuck with me was her voice, and how it could be heard above all others. Growing up, coming to church to hear her sing, I would always pick out her voice amongst the choir. And when people found out that I was her daughter, the first thing they would say was that she had a wonderful voice and ask if I sang too. The answer's in a car badly. And we had a tradition going that every Christmas we would go see the Christmas revels together. And every year without fail that we went, I think at least 3 people have to come up to her and say, "Oh, you have the most wonderful voice." And she'd be very thankful, and I'd go, "Of course, Mom, everyone's gonna say that. You have the best voice ever." I started doing theater in high school, and the first hack week I did, she drove me to school and she started crying. She said her baby was following in her footsteps. And I told her, I'm like, "Mom, I'm backstage, I'm not on stage." She said, "I don't care, you're doing theater." She told me it didn't matter, and she was proud of me. We oftentimes would go see theater together, and we'd do trips to New York or to other places in order to see theater. And we also one time had season tickets to the Huntington in order to spend time together. Travel was a big part of my mom's life, and she would often go to exploring places and visit friends. As someone who also loves travel, I would glom on to whatever trip she would let me come with her on, as well as I'd try and convince her to take me on trips I knew I had no chance of getting invited along. Like when she went to Turkey, I knew there was no chance I was being invited to that. She lived her life to the fullest and took advantage whenever anyone suggested anything. Not too long ago, we took our last trip together. We were supposed to go to Tennessee and visit where she grew up for a week, but that transformed into a weekend trip up to Vermont and New Hampshire. We went up Cannon Mountain and walked the short trail at the summit. She pointed out to me the mountain that she'd climbed when she was younger, Mount Lafayette, and marveled at the scenery. This trip happened when her neuropathy from the chemo had gotten bad, and there was a part of the walk that she needed support in to traverse, but even with that, she had a smile on her face and wonder in her eyes. My mom was a strong woman who knew what she wanted to do and never let her illness stop her from enjoying the world around her. Today and every day, I bring my mom with me by holding her in my heart and memories, knowing I will always love her and she will always love me.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite you all to share your memories. Here at First Parish, we are learning to do what we call hybrid worship. So those of you who are online watching, and those of you who actually have your cell phones, if you'd like to take them out, and you can text to this number and send your messages directly to the family in case you don't get to see them and share it with them later. But this is just during this piece while Rip is playing the Debussy Reverie. I invite you to share your messages, and I think the cell phone number will go up on the screen. Nope. Okay, well, I'll give you the cell phone number for those of you that might want to program it in. It's 978-364-2799. Oh, it's in the program. Perfect. Thank you. 2790. Excuse me. There you go.
Just taking it in. I'm Beth's husband, Bill Scott. Just thank you to everyone for taking your time out of your day. It's a glorious day, to be here. It means so much. Thank you to everyone who's offered to help and has helped to make this a special day. Thank you for all the love and care that has filled us all during this hard time. So many people have reached out and just, poured love. And just, we all need that, and we've had that, and we really can't thank everyone enough. These plants back here were given to the kids as a memory by friends. And I remember when I actually had cancer too when I was 26. And my father came out right before I had surgery. And I said, I'm fine, I can get through this. But he had to come. And he bought a plant for me. I still have that plant today. It's probably 36 years old. I think I counted it up a few times. One time Beth decided it needed a little help because it got so big and it was kind of, getting wrangly. And she took it away. I was a little nervous, but I let it go. And it literally got chopped down to about a quarter what it was. I was a little surprised, to say the least. But the plant is still blooming, and it's still alive, and it's a great memory, so I hope these memories will serve you, Sorry to everyone who found out about Beth's illness or passing by email or text or by word of mouth. We wish we could have told everyone in person. We made a conscious decision to not share her news, to honor her wishes, to remain positive, and live out her days joyously with those she loved. She had little desire to talk about her condition. Talking about it just was not what she wanted to do. Can you blame her? Yeah. I can tell you, I only heard her complain or feel sad a handful of times over the year. She said a few times, I'm not ready to go. Sorry. Can you blame her? Let's talk about Elizabeth Nancy Walsh, AKA Beth Walsh, AKA Mommy, AKA Mommy Diva. I'm sure a few of you have gotten emails from her. That was a good signature she pulled out. Lived up to it. The biggest smile, the friendly face, the great stories, the attention to nature and beauty. Her voice, many have cried and had chills and were moved by hearing Beth sing. Her connection through her acting and expressions always came through. You felt like she was singing to you. Her knowledge of geography, her vast knowledge of all things through her music, her paintings, her pottery. Her daughter Emma put together a room, the common room in the hall, where you can see a lot of her work. I encourage you to take a look, and paintings too. Her joy She found joy in all things and loved to share it. I probably shouldn't share this, but she likes to hold on to things. And we have a lot of things. You haven't seen the storage unit. I have. I think of that, somebody probably knows the book and the name of the author, sorry, I don't. But, when you find joy in something, keep it. If you don't, let it go. She found joy in everything. Her love of travel, you're going to hear a lot of this over again, but it's all there and it's worth hearing again. Her love of food and cooking, she would love to make a meal, every night, and was very appreciative when those of us appreciated it. I think Emma was one of her biggest fans of her cooking, and talk about joy. I think she enjoyed the response more than she loved the cooking. But she loved her food, more than anything, and loved to go out and eat and all those good things, just like many of us do. But I think there was another level here. So if you ever got to experience it, her love for her cats. I've never seen a relationship with a pet, the way that Beth could, bring that out in another being that couldn't communicate directly with you, but found many ways to communicate otherwise. And, she could call the cats, they would come. They had rituals that they did every day. And I used to, call her the animal whisperer, because, anytime she ever came into contact with an animal, it was an immediate bond, and you could tell that there was comfort. I remember one time we were riding along on a bike or something, and she saw a bird in a net that was trying to get out. And I'm a little squeamish, I'll admit it, but she just stopped, pulled over, freed the bird, held it in her hands. It's almost like they talked to each other, and then she just let it go. But it's very sweet, and there's a lot of interactions like that I've seen her have with animals. Her love of experiences, especially with family and friends. She was always up for an adventure, and I'm sure many of you have had those adventures with her and have those memories to hold. Her love for the theater, you've heard some good stories about that. But as you know, she didn't just love the theater, she was part of the theater. I got to follow her around as, her number one fan, and got to see her before the show, during the show, and after the show. What a pleasure. So thankful. Her love for reading, she would, have friends that she read books with and shared, and she would, constantly be looking for another good book, it was just always a pleasure to see that. Her love for games and puzzles. If you've ever played games with Beth, you probably lost. I lost many times, but it was mostly with grace. It was always fun, though. I'm sure you've figured out that this service in honor of her life has a lot to do with music. Music was, other than her family and probably food, the most important thing to her. As you can imagine, these kind of things don't just happen, when you have somebody as special as her and her gifts come along. You really can't learn that. It comes from somewhere, I would imagine. Where's Reed? Yeah, a little help there, And her father, Robbie, who played the banjo and was quite a tickler himself. She found out that you could get a degree in college in music. And of course, you know. Her love for all her family, you know, her love for her children, all very special. We have all shared so many stories and experiences about our relationship with Beth, so many great stories and feelings, all of which have, you know, given us a lot of comfort. I encourage you to do the same. Today is the day we celebrate and honor a wonderful, loving, strong, talented, and independent woman that made a difference in the lives of so many, of which I'm sure, you know, many of you. It means so much to be here today, and thank you. In the end, that's what matters. Did you love, and were you loved? Well, did she love, and was she loved? I think we all know the answer.
I'd like to invite our First Parish choir to come up and perform You Do Not Walk Alone by Elaine Hagenberg.
I'm Lisa Perry Wood, Reverend Lisa Perry Wood. I was ordained right here 4 years ago. Beloved family and friends of Elizabeth, Beth, Nancy, Walsh, I know we are all heartbroken, and many of us are still in disbelief. Bill, Emma, Caroline, Porter, she loved you so much. She'd be so proud of you today. I know she is. Oops. And you gave so much to her in the last weeks and months. So much tender, loving care. And Reed and Dorothy, you were there too. It meant so much to her. Beth knew that she was loved. Her time here was limited, but in that time she leaned into family and close friends. It was a gift to those of us who loved her, and we leaned right back into caring for her. When Beth found out that she had cancer, she decided how she wanted to play it. She told me she didn't want to be that patient lying in a bed suffering with everyone standing around pitying her. No. Beth wanted to stay positive, to keep smiling right to the end, and she did. She certainly did. And that's why many people didn't know that she was sick or how sick she was. She wanted to keep it somewhat private, close in, to her dearest family and friends, so that most of the world would remember her as she was, full of life and energy and just ready for the next adventure. I spoke with Beth about that in those last days, sitting at her bedside. I was doing all the speaking, but I knew she was listening. I said, "It's very hard that we don't know what's going to happen. I really hope that your daddy and your grandmother and all the people you love are just waiting there for you in the light with open arms to welcome you home. But we just don't know. It's the next adventure, I guess. And you do like to travel," I said. And she opened her eyes and gave me a little grin. I think that so many of us here thought of Beth as our best friend. She had a lot of best friends. And her death is leaving a hole in so many of our lives. Her laugh, her voice, her infectious smile, those bright eyes. As Reed, her mom, said to me, her energy force field was large. Her appetite for life was huge. She was up for most any adventure. Beth was, as a former fellow choir member commented recently, magnificent. Some of us might have regrets about all those many times Beth said, "Let's do this," or "Let's go there," and we just weren't able to join her. She wanted to see and do and hear and taste and smell so many things, as many as she possibly could. And sometimes we were spontaneous, the way she wanted, like the time that Zoe and I picked up and went to Shuckers for all-you-can-eat oysters on the spur of the moment. Or the time that she and Porter were going to climb a mountain, maybe another mountain, and they were fogged in, and so they went to Mass Mocha instead. Maybe not Porter's favorite outing with her. But there are countless other times I'm sure you can all think of. Beth's curiosity was boundless, and she was fully present for every experience. I'll bet that many of us here went on those adventures with her, whether to a museum where she could stand in front of a piece of art for the longest time, travels, the theater, even walks in the neighborhood as she'd point out gardens and wildlife and stop for conversations. Beth loved nature in all its forms. She had such a great appreciation, as it's been said, for birds, flowers, trees, the beach, the ocean. Emma remembered her mom calling up to her on the third floor, "Emma, come down, come down." She insisted that Emma look at the moon. And Beth shared so many memories with all of us about her summers with her grandmother in Orleans, gardening with her, learning about flowers and birds, in addition to lots of swimming. She loved the water. Beth just found so much joy and amazement in life. And I'm sure many of us were startled at times by her "look" or "oh my God" when she spotted something that caught her attention. Caroline and Porter talked about that as a bit of a liability when they were learning to drive. Beth would shout, "Look," and they'd hit the brakes. Her family told the story about how Beth was terrified of heights, even though she loved mountains, how she would suffer to get to beauty, they said. There was even a story of an aborted skydiving trip with a group, when, after saying she'd go last, she had to come back down without jumping because she'd forgotten that she hated heights. Now, many people might not know that Beth was born in Puerto Rico and then moved to Tennessee when she was 2. And that Southern girl was always in there somewhere. Karen, her dear friend of 34 years, remembered driving to Florida with her midwinter, and she said, as soon as they got below the Mason-Dixon line, Beth started saying, "Golly," those Southern roots just coming through. She just loved traveling so much, whether in New England or other parts of the country or Europe. She and Karen often talked about taking a trip overseas together. Murphy and Walsh go to Ireland. It would have been great. So many adventures were still in the planning stages. Beth just loved everything about travel, the culture, the languages, the people, the food. I still have teas and spices she brought me from her trip to Turkey. And then, of course, there was her musical career. Her family, as was mentioned, said that she was hesitant about college until she learned she could major in music. She started out in classical, opera, but then Reed remembered her trying out for a musical. She said it was scary for her, the idea of going on stage, being the center of attention. But Reed said that the first time Beth entered from back center stage, she immediately owned the stage. And that was it. She was magnificent. Eventually, after consulting everyone in her life, Beth decided to focus on musical theater. She began doing college productions, auditioning all the time, doing summer stock. But her big moneymaker was TV commercials. Regina Home Spas, Total Cereal, Toyota, and then her biggest one, Downy Fabric Softener, which earned her the family nickname Moneybags Walsh and helped fund the purchase of their first home in Cambridge. Musical theater, acting and singing in it, going to shows, critiquing shows, all of it was truly life-giving for Beth. And she was always up for a theater date. And of course, Beth's life right here at First Parish was incredibly important to her. Singing with the choir, the beautiful solos she sang, being invited to sing at memorial services, it all meant so much to her. First Parish Choir, Beth loved you. I know you know that, but I just wanted to say it out loud. She loved you. She was deeply touched by you serenading her outside her bedroom window. You were the last connection to her big singing life, and it meant so much to her. First Parish is where Zoe and I first met Beth and Bill at one of the monthly dinner series. We hit it off as couples and had a lot of fun together, but it was when our niece Samantha and her brothers came to live with us in 2010 that we connected even more deeply. Our 6 kids were all 1-year steps apart, and they bonded quickly. When Beth joined the First Parish Search Committee for a new minister, Zoe and I began hosting Friday night dinners for everyone at our house while the search team met. We became chosen family for each other, and I think it was them. We started calling ourselves Framley, and that stuck. And we've had Framley weekends and Framley vacations and Framley trips to the Cape and Ferry Beach and lots more. And we also went through a lot of ups and downs together over the years, a lot, right? We leaned on each other, and we still do. It has been one of our deepest joys of the past 17 years. Zoe and I were lucky enough to have a lot of travels and adventures with Beth. This past summer, we checked a trip off her bucket list by going to the Chautauqua Institute in New York for 3 days. 3 days of music and talks and plays and exploring and, of course, shopping. I can't see. Then we went up to Buffalo and from there to Niagara Falls on the 4th of July. We decided to take the Maid of the Mist boat trip, and there's a great picture of Beth just roaring with laughter as we were being drenched by the falls. She loved every minute of that trip. And in spite of getting really bad cancer news over that weekend, she just soaked up every minute. That's what she wanted. And that's how she wanted us to remember her, just bursting with laughter and joy. One of Beth's and my last adventures together was a horse-drawn carriage ride on Nishawn Island off Cape Cod. Beth wasn't having a great day. I could see that she was in pain. So I suggested we just skip it. The shock on her face said it all. "Absolutely not," she said, with a big grin. And so we went. She got the most out of every minute, taking in every ocean view, the beech tree forest, even a glimpse of a buck in the woods. She was following her plan, just soaking up every minute. She was so full of life and joy. She shared with everyone around her. Those twinkling eyes, that brilliant smile stayed with her nearly to the very end. And the biggest loves in her life were her family, especially her children, Emma, Caroline, Porter. Watching how tenderly and respectfully Bill and her children cared for her in her last days was a powerful testament to a devoted family returning to their beloved mommy what she had given so richly to them. As we reminisced together in Beth's final weeks, Karen recalled when Porter was born and Bill brought Emma and Caroline to visit in the hospital. With newborn Porter cradled in one arm, Beth braided Emma's hair as she sat on the side of the bed. There's simply no doubt whatsoever how much Beth loved being their mom. Reed texted me this yesterday. Cicero said, "The life of the dead is placed in the memory of the living, so I will remember my daughter and the joy she brought to us all." Thank you for that, Reed. Beth, we'll remember you this way, the way you wanted for us. The joy, life, and energy, the music and beauty, fun and laughter of our beloved friend. We will remember your magnificence today and every day. Amen. Blessed be.
Thank you, Lisa. Now I'd like to invite Karen Murphy to come and sing "How Deep is the Ocean" by Irving Berlin.
Do I love you? I'll tell you no lie. How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? How many times a day do I think of you? How many roses are sprinkled with dew? How far would I travel to be where you are? The journey from here to a star, and if I ever lost you, how much would I cry? How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky?
Thank you so much, Karen. I ask if you would join with me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of mystery, Spirit of life, we ask you to bless our memories of Beth, that we may retain that sense of her life, which connects us to her forever. We are grateful for the joy and the artistry which she brought to this world. We are thankful for the strength of her love for her family and the model of courage and resourcefulness which she has inspired for those who've known her. Spirit of mystery, Spirit of life, imbue us with that sense of wonder as we stand together facing the mystery. Fill us with reverence for this life, for we know that our time together on this green earth is a blessing beyond measure, and we are grateful for the time that we have had together. We offer our thanks for the life of Beth Walsh. Spirit of mystery, Spirit of life, grant eternal love to Beth as she joins the heavenly throng of those who dance and sing hallelujah, that she may rest in eternal peace. Amen and amen. The song that you are about to hear is called I Believe. The text is based on a poignant anonymous text found written on a cellar wall near Cologne, Germany, where the Jews hid during World War II. This was one of Beth's favorite anthems. And so I invite you to listen to Beth singing with the parish choir a recorded version of I Believe.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God. I believe in God, even when God is silent.
The family invites you to a reception in Parish Hall following the postlude. Please take your time exiting, as we will be running our slideshow of Beth during the postlude and beyond. So take your time, and when you come into the Parish Hall, please partake in the refreshments and be sure to go to the common room to experience all of the art and the beautiful pottery that Emma has curated for her mom. Yeah.
There's also, in the same room, there's also all of her puzzles that she had. She had a lot of puzzles. And we invite you to take one home. They're in the room. Thank you all so much. It means so much to me.
I'd like to thank all the people who have helped, especially our Director of Music, Rip Jackson, and the choir. And thank you for your beautiful care of Beth over these last months. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for all the ushers and the people that have made this happen so smoothly and so beautifully. Our benediction are the words of Khalil Gibran. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide unto the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. Beth, may you sing forever in the joyfulness of eternity. Amen. Our postlude is the Preludium in G major by Felix Mendelssohn, performed by Rip Jackson on the organ.